I said I was going to do a review on this book, and now I'm starting to regret it because I suck at reviews. But I'll go give it a try anyway. What is up, guys? Today is Wednesday, which means #Book Wednesday, day of the week where I talk to you guys about books. This video is a book review for the short of Shannara. I think I'm pronouncing Shannara wrong, but yeah, I'm just gonna go with Shannara. It sounds right, so I'm just gonna go with it. This book is actually 40 years old this year, so that's pretty impressive. It was published in 1977. That's 40 years this year. Not exactly sure when it will be 40 years old, but right now it will turn 40 this year. So I'm actually pretty impressed that I read a book that's 40 years old. The short of Shannara and its trilogy is known as an epic fantasy. So anyone that's into epic fantasies, this is one for you guys if you haven't read it. It is the first book in a trilogy and what's known as the original trilogy because this actual world and setting is actually expanded into a series of books. I think there's about 20 books in total, and I think I own about 18, so I do plan to read this whole entire series. That goes for the prequels and the sequels containing the world of Shannara, or this kind of genre of books. And of course this book is actually written by Terry Brooks, and Terry Brooks has been noted to be a good fantasy writer, and I kind of enjoyed this book, and I'm just going to talk a little bit about the kind of background of this book in general because I actually read this review out. So if you see me glancing down, I'm just looking at my notes. So it takes place 2,000 years after what's known as the Great War, and which more or less wiped out the whole entire planet. The world's geography has been like completely mixed up and jumped up, so we don't actually have an America or an Ireland or a UK or any of that. We don't have that anymore. What we have are known as the Southland and Northland and that kind of landy stuff. Also, because of this Great War, mankind has also been kind of wiped out as well, so it's not really all that great of the story when it comes down to hear that like mankind has been wiped out. What? And yeah, so basically what happened was it's a nuclear war has happened and has wiped out the whole entire planet and mankind. Also, most of technology in this story has been completely artifact or does not exist anymore. It's like history. Like people talk about mobile phones, don't exist. Mobile phones didn't exist when this book was written, so yeah, mobile phones didn't exist. However, in the story, because of this war or this nuclear explosion that causes this disruption to the world, magic has been rediscovered. So we have magicians or people who are able to call upon magic source or on a science type magic. Over the next 1,000 years, what happens is that man has actually mutated, and I'm not really sure if man's mutated because it's just a way of life or it's due to the nuclear explosion that happened previously. Men have actually mutated into dwarves, gnomes, trolls and elves. So we now have, and of course we still have some men, so men are still there as well, but we have 5 races. 1,000 years as well, according to the story, is that there was what was known as the first war of the races, and this would have been like, you know, men and dwarf versus troll and gnome, or men and elf versus gnome and dwarf and stuff like that, or it was like one race against all the rest of the races, or you know, you get the idea. So it's one of these things you kind of have to read the book to find out what it's all about. I'm trying to summarize it and it's not working very well. Let's ignore all of that now. We go into what where the story opens. So the story opens actually with one of our main characters, Flick Owensford. And Flick is actually on the outskirts of his home in the Southland called Shady Vale, where he runs into a dark figure who tells him to take cover from a dark creature that's roaming the land looking for a particular individual. We soon find out that this dark creature that's roaming around looking for a certain individual is called a skull bearer, who is a creature that is under control of the Warlock Lord. We also find out that this dark creature is actually looking for our next and our protagonist of the story, Shay Owensford. Now, Shay Owensford is the adopted son of Flick Owensford's father, but he is half elf. And due to legend of Shannara, he's the only one that can stop the Warlock Lord. Now we learn the dark figure that we have encountered in the path at the beginning of the book is actually Alanon, who is a druid who is also a magician, but we don't find that out for a long time. It takes a long time for that to come out, and I'm sorry if anyone's reading this and I'm spoiling the book for them, so apologies. But soon after, the two boys head out on an adventure of a lifetime where they go to the next village or town nearby, which is Lee, where we meet Shay's friend Minion Lee. And Minion Lee is a prince, and he is the prince of Lee, and he joins the two guys in their adventure in order to stop the Warlock Lord and search for the sword of Shannara. Along the way, we meet other characters. We meet a few dwarves, we meet elves. We learn different things about each of the actual characters as they go through the book. Each character has their own kind of little growth in each of the stories or each of the chapters. We see that Flick becomes from a nervous individual and from self-doubting to pulling his socks up and becoming a little bit brave and taking on something that he would never thought he would do. We see that Shay becomes a little bit more resourceful and is very much well able to stand on his own two feet. And we see other characters develop throughout the story as well, which is very, very good, because as far as I'm aware, each character in this story is only in this book because the second book in the trilogy is actually set later on in life on different characters. And it's really, really enjoyable to see that each character kind of has his own mini growth in the story. But what really stands out with this story is that all the characters all have the same goal, and they all step up in order to do the right thing. And I think that's a big point of this story, that it's kind of like, we don't care about differences. So we don't care that you're half elf, we don't care if you're an elf, we don't care if you're a dwarf or a man. We all have the same goal in mind, and we all want the same thing. So they all band together in order to find the sword with Shay. So with that, I actually can say I actually enjoyed the story for that actual point. And that's actually my main reason why I gave the story such a high rating, is because I just liked the characters. I liked how they all had their own individual story, and how they all kind of individually developed throughout the actual book itself. At one point I did feel a bit sad for a couple of the characters. Kind of bring up the feels a little bit, but not too much. Still very, very enjoyable. And the only problem I have with this book, and I have openly admit that I have not read Lord of the Rings as a trilogy, but I've read The Fellowship of the Ring. But this book itself does have a huge grasp on Lord of the Rings, and I was reading up on different reviews, and as everyone has said the same, it's very much a copy of Lord of the Rings, just in a different style. And I kind of actually prefer this to Lord of the Rings. I know it's terrible, but I actually feel that there's just that, I think I just like the characters a little bit more. I found the characters, some things I saw myself in some of these characters where I didn't in Lord of the Rings. And generally for that, like I said, because I related it back to Lord of the Rings kind of after reading it, or while I was reading it, and I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. If you are a fan of Lord of the Rings and you want to read something that's similar to Lord of the Rings, or very much on the lines of Lord of the Rings, I do actually recommend you read this book, because you will actually walk away and say like, well, this is just Lord of the Rings, only a different way of telling the story. So that's the only reason why I think I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, was for the fact that it reminded me too much of Lord of the Rings. I did find Shay at times to be a 9. I know that sounds wrong to say that, but I did find Shay a 9 at times. But I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, is because I believe he's actually quite young in the story. He's actually not really, like, he's not an adult. I don't think I'd say he's in his mid-teens. So, you know, and so is Flick. And I think a lot of the characters, bar a few of them, are in their teens or early 20s. Like, there's no ages given on any of the characters, but we're only speculating, and I'm just going from what I've read on these characters, and as they sounded to me, is that like Shay is like mid-teens, maybe late teens, but by no means he's not an adult. He's actually only still a chap. He's only like a teenager, and so is Flick. But I still really enjoy this. I actually did like the kind of the banter between Flick and Minion. They don't really like each other too much. Their mutual friend is Shay, so yeah, Shay is their knot in their string. But No, both characters do step up to the mark, so I really like that as well. But it is a series I'm going to continue. I actually am going to continue on the series. As I said, I do have like I think 18 books, including this one, so I'm only missing 2 of the books. And yeah, I do recommend anyone who's a Lord of the Rings fan to read this book. I've heard so many mixed reviews on this. I actually really liked it and I enjoyed it. I gave it a 4 or 5 stars, and I'm going to continue reading the series. Right, so that is my review. Apologies that I'm not very good at getting reviews across very well on video, but I have a write-up to post which I will do very, very soon, and once I have it done, I will link it down below in this video that you can go check it out. As always, everyone, I upload every Wednesday and Saturday with a new video. I'm heading to Amsterdam for VidCon Europe this weekend, so if you're around Amsterdam for VidCon, give me an old tweet on Twitter. My link for Twitter is also down below. If you have not subscribed, you can click over here, and you can also watch my previous videos down here. And I shall see you all hopefully next Wednesday. Maybe, might not. Peace!